Kayee C, you were born and raised in Hong Kong from Hong Kongese parents. You've been working and living in France for 10 years now. La Galerie is very happy to exhibit your work. It's a very original and contemporanean work. You stage yourself in sceneries where you embody all characters and you really tell a story. The story you tell is figuring relationships between all characters, hate, violence, respect or disrespect. You have a very accurate eye and motivation in observing human relationships.
I think all my works, they come from my observations day to day of human relationships in different situations. It can be at work, it can be my girlfriends telling me stories about their experiences. And I always wonder why people treat people in a certain way. Um, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, why does your boyfriend treat you like that? Well, I don't judge people, but sometimes people are like, oh, okay, why? Maybe I need to understand more. So these questions that I have in my mind every day, they go into my reserve, my inspiration reserve. Um, yeah, it's also because it's the fact that you want to be a better person. You hope that in the world people are not hurting each other anymore. That's why you ask yourself all these questions. The process is very inspiring for my work.
What is the relationship you developed with your characters, with that image of yourself transfigured by the artwork?
Once I put myself on an image, um, after the creative process, it's not me anymore. That's why when people ask me about my work, I always call the characters on the pictures the girls, because you I decided I had to cultivate some sort of distance between myself, my personal life, and my image used on pictures. I think it's very important nowadays, especially when you have your image on the internet. People can make screenshot, people can do whatever they want with it. If you don't have that distance between you and your image, life can be complicated. And this is not what I want. I decided at some point, I spent maybe like a year and a half to really work on that, to take pictures of myself and then decide that this is not going to affect my ego. Ego is very important, it protects us. But I decided in this art universe, I will have this distance. And this is my relationship with them. They're not me anymore once they're done. They are just characters, the girls.
Can you tell us what is your process of self-staging?
Yeah, it's a process of everything, because from zero to finally I have a picture, I did everything. Okay. I have this notebook for that I use every day, and this is where I put all my inspirations. For example, I maybe I'm thinking about something, a friend, and then I would write something, just a few vocabularies, or sometimes it can be longer. I very often have images of scenes that I may be able to make. So I'll just describe them. I try to draw them. I don't draw very well, but I think they are functionally, they're okay. I can show you some. This is something that, so I got three girls in the picture. This one, she has a gun. And the one in the middle, she's sandwiched between the two people. They are actually having an argument. And so the one in the middle, she is useless, but this one, she points her gun towards the other one, and that gun goes through her. And she's really the victim. The collateral of all this is that she didn't do anything, but she ends up in some situation where she's just hurt physically. It's a lot of I don't know, my thoughts of certain things in the world when you think about what happens out there. there are a lot of people who didn't do anything to deserve what they get now. Yeah, just an example. So and then sometimes I'm already in bed. I have to sleep, but I suddenly have an image in my mind, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna go out from the bed now. So what I do is that I just get my phone. I send myself messages. That's an easier way to describe. Okay, I see a person lying on the ground. The other one is trying to step on her, and this is something that I do daily. It's like you're planting seeds everywhere of your inspiration, and at some point, some may go bigger, some may just stay there for a longer time, or you have several small elements that you believed were separate. They'll just come together. And I have to think about how technically I'm going to do it. Is there anyone lying down? Is there anyone flying? Is there anyone having bigger gestures? So I need a bigger background. This is all things that I have to know before. And then how I'm going to put the girls together. If there's one girl who is like grabbing the hair of the other one, I'll have to think about that technically before, because things that you don't do well during the shooting, you're gonna work a lot more, 20 times more in retouch, and I don't want to do that, because it's very important to think about the longevity of your physical mobility. You have to work for a long time. I hope that I'm still shooting when I'm 85. So you have to think about that. So instead of spending your time on a computer, have some unhealthy way to work on your images, you have to go to the most efficient direction. You know that this is going to save me time. I'm going to do this because I have other things to do after that. And then before the shooting, you have to decide how to wear your makeup, how to do your hair, what wardrobe items you're going to have. I now developed a wardrobe that is adapted to my needs. Like I have items that are quite minimalist. You seldom see me with like really crazy patterns on my items. And yeah, they are made to be versatile, to just do many different things that I want. At the same time, I don't want all the attention to go to the dresses, which is not the main goal.
Where do you take the most pleasure in your process?
The thought process is, I like everything. I think the thought process is the most important, because this is where you build up the whole narrative of what you try to say. I am less on the technical achievement of photography. I think this is it has to be there. You have to reach a certain criteria that you ask for yourself to make a picture that you think is good. After that, the focus of my work is the relationship between the girls. Yeah, I think this is the most important.
We recognize many classical references in your work. What are your favorite?
Caravaggio, yeah, no doubt. I like the whole very dramatic universe of his work, especially when you also think about his life. His very non-linear, disorganized life. The whole thing becomes very mysterious, enigmatic. When you put contrast together in a life, and I think that's what life is, balancing between different things. And I have a book of his complete collection of his work at home, and I always go back to it. Every week I'm looking at it. Sometimes I just open a page and I just put it there, and I don't move. Yeah.
You have a very modern eye on our time. And what is the link you make between these references, these historical references, and our time?
It's gonna be dark what I say, but violence. There's a lot of physical violence in what Caravaggio painted. Also, a lot of relationship violence. When you look at like the taking of Christ, um, Judas is kissing Jesus, but this is a very violent act that he's doing because that big knife is just behind him. Okay, and yeah, that violence, because I spend a lot of my time just thinking about why do we do that? Why do we do it to the other people? Um, do we always know what we're doing? Do we always know the consequences of our acts? I always wonder when you listen to other people's stories, when you look at the news. This is the biggest question that I always come out with. So this is what sends, well, what links me to the modern times.
This picture is the picture of invitation for the exhibition, and it was really a big success. But I know every visitor will appropriate the picture, but I would like you to tell your version, your story about it.
Okay, my story. And first of all, it comes from this painting of Caravaggio, The Taking of Christ. Is the betrayal of Jesus by Judas. So many of us know the story. I'll just give one sentence. So this is Judas decided to betray Jesus. He kissed him so that we know that, oh, this is Jesus, we're going to get him. By kissing him, it's a very, very gentle, very lovely act, right? But actually, this is a big, big betrayal act. So it sends me back to the modern times. We are always doing something that is, we always have to balance between our nature, what we want to be. Okay, I want to eat this now, I want to do that now, but we are in a society where you can't really decide, oh, I want this now, and you're gonna in a meeting, in the middle of meeting, oh, you guys are gonna shut up because I'm gonna take a nap now. You can't do that. And then it reminds me of my own situation. I always try to think about things from my perspective, because I'm also a human. I think the more you go deep into yourself, this is where you can find the more resonance with the other people, because you're being true to yourself. So I'm like, okay, I'm this person in this society. What are the peer pressures? What are the social pressures that I experience? Okay, maybe because I'm a woman with no kid and I'm turning 40 in not a very long time. And people were like, oh, they will ask you, oh, why did you do that? Is it because your career was too good? No. People always want to ask why, because they expect you to be to live in a certain way. And this causes a lot of stress to many people. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put all of them, all of these girls in this picture, and instead of having a Jesus who is dressed, he was dressed in the painting. I'm gonna put these girls in Jesus' position, but she's the less dressed person. Okay, we're gonna strip her down, and it's even worse. So, and also the other one is trying to give her more makeup so that maybe I can sell her for more money. This is how we betray ourselves. Yeah, but at the same time, you really can't do whatever you want. That maybe it comes from my education. You know, I was educated in Hong Kong. I know that you're not gonna have that pure joy all the time. You're gonna work hard. You're gonna pay for it in advance, and then you can enjoy it. It's very personal.
Kayee C, would you talk about these two sisters?
Yeah, so the reference comes from Gabrielle Lestrade and one of her sisters. It's one of the most famous reference painting in the world, because we saw them in a lot of TV commercials or other media. It is very enigmatic to me, very intriguing, because when you look at the girls, you wonder, are they happy? Are they happy to be together? Are they happy to be there? Are they happy to be painted? Because Gabrielle was supposed to had just had her baby, and it was something happy, but they look really, they look like piece of wood. They got no facial expressions. And this is the first thing that really reached me the first time I saw that when I was a kid. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stage that in my own way. Sometimes when I think about sisters, I may think about the competition between siblings. So I'm like, okay, let me stage that. But instead of the other one just receiving all the violence herself, like the one that got pushed to the sofa, I'm like, no, she's gonna find a way to deal with that. I decided that she is dealing with that with her humor, because she's in that situation already. She's not going to get out immediately, so she's trying to act in a certain way. So when her sister pushed her head towards the sofa, she has that hand that tried to react to this, like yeah. This is also very personal. Sometimes I go through situations that I know that I have to deal with. I did not actually choose that. That you know that sometimes in your life you have temporary transitions, that you have to deal with things that are very, very boring, very uninteresting. And it is very important to cultivate your humor when you go through that.
Kayee C, this picture was not inspired by Marat.
No. I didn't have Marat in my mind when I did that, although I referenced Marat in earlier work before. So I was in a manor house, a medieval manor house in France last year, and it was a place full of antiquities, and we got that bathtub. Apparently, it came from a movie set with Alain Delon in it. And so I just look at the place. I decided I'm going to do something about the end of an event. Something happened before, and I arrived at the end of it and wonder what happened. I wanted a lot of girls in it, and they're all aware that something happened. The one on the floor is trying to reach the one in the bathtub. The one in the bathtub is apparently maybe she's regretting something, maybe she's shocked, and there's a hand hanging on the edge of the bathtub. The most important detail in all this is there's also the photographer in it. What I try to, my feeling when I was doing that is that whatever you're trying to do to other people, you always have someone looking at you. Maybe that's not someone else, but still yourself is looking at you to ask you questions. What are you doing? Are you aware of what you're doing? Did you imagine the consequences? I don't want to say that it has some moral narrative in it. I think it's the fact that I'm always trying to avoid living in an autopilot state, to be really aware of what I'm doing, because I don't want to live a life with no intention. I don't want to live a life where I just make a lot of bad decision in the way that, because I'm not doing the work to really inform myself of what I'm doing, or I do not spend time asking myself the right questions.
Thank you very much, Kayee. We hope to be able to see you soon in Hong Kong.
Yeah.